Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of Day 4 with the man Frank SCALISH, show number 200
and something
and 26.
200 and something.
We have before we even get into it, I'm gonna flash this up here because this is awesome. We are going to really dive into the return of the what is this called? A chart. There it is.
Yeah,
we're gonna get into that chart later in the show, but we have a lot of business to attend to as we wrap up the 2025 season of Day 4.
May I address an elephant in the room first?
There's an elephant in the room?
There is an elephant in the room. I have to address this. Dude, what about those pachyderms you guys were catching in Mexico?
Oh,
holy smokes.
Yeah, that was insane. So there were, I've talked a little bit about it, but that lake will make you feel like Kevin Van Dam mixed with Jacob Wheeler, mixed with Kyle Welcher, mixed with Brandon Polinick on anabolic steroids. I mean, you want to feel like you walk down to the boat every single morning
and knew something.
Like, think 2008 to 2011 KVD on a TVA fishery. Like, that's how he felt walking down to the boat every single morning, is how you feel walking, stepping in the boat at Lake Baccarat. Like, it's going down, it's ugly. And the only question is, are you going to land the donkey that eats your stuff?
That is just, those were some incredible photos, dude. I got to admit, big bass are exciting. And, some of those things just look meaty. I mean, just look
this
meaty.
Was the biggest one landed of the trip.
I mean, look at the chin on that thing right below his gills, dude. It's like,
so that was the biggest one. That, look at how genuinely happy I am. So that was on day 2. So I still had that doesn't really look like me because I still had the margarita salt sodium bloat going pretty heavy. Like, look, I have zero facial structure there.
Yeah.
Majorly bloated. Back to normal now. I ended up going like 4 days with no margaritas or alcohol. I caught that fish, Frank, on a spinning rod. And then I cannonballed into the lake. And when I came up, I had a mouthful of water. It was a spontaneous thing.
Oh,
and it kind of crossed my mind like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So I then realized how out of shape I was as I tried to hoist my wet carcass over the gunnel like a beach whale.
Straddle the outboard and trim the outboard up. It'll make life easier.
And then I had some intestinal issues the next several days. So I went from, my God, I'm going to gain 10 pounds to I might go back down to a 32 by the end of this thing.
Well, at least you could laugh about it.
Yeah, no, it was 100% me. No one else had any issues whatsoever. It was me jumping in the damn lake. But
yeah, so your mouth full of water,
dude. It's super fun. I mean, there were, I want to say, a half dozen over 8. There's the BTL group that went down there. There were 12 of us. A half dozen over 8 on topwater between spooks and poppers. Really, really on your recommendation, and my buddy Rod Wynn was down there before, and he was like, "Bro, you got to bring a free rig." So I ordered the free rig. I know we've talked about it on the show, Frank.
Yeah,
it has. I do not see, other than when you are flipping heavy cover and pegging a Texas rig, any open water plastic bait. 100% from now on is free rig only for me.
Yeah, it's an outstanding technique, one that I was running away from until Frankie pounded it in my head to start throwing it. So I took one day of opportunity to figure it all out, and Trailer Rick came down.
Yeah, I remember you told that. You smashed him on.
Wasted him, dude. Like, wasted him. And it's funny because the particular lake I was on, I have not had very good success with the Carolina rig on it. I catch a few, but not like normal. Normally, I wail on them on the rig.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever the reason, this lake is just not a rig-friendly lake. And man alive, that free rig took care of it.
So there's all these little like flooded bushes down there, but they come off of like taper points and drop deep. So I would cast it up kind of to the bank. It's all rock. And I would pull it and I'd get it stuck in that bush and then I'd pop it. And as soon as it would come free, I could just picture that weight sliding down and then just that bait just falling down behind it, which you don't get out of a pegged Texas rig. And it reminded me, Shaw Grigsby used to talk about how he never pegged his Texas rigs, bed fishing or open water fishing, so you could get the little bit of weight separation and the bait would act more natural. And the free rig with that, it just, there's so many more. Like I spent one morning, Josh was in the front of the boat and he caught an 8-4, a 6-12, a bunch of 3s and 4s on a yellow magic in front of me. And he kept saying, get up here. And I was like, no, dude, like this session is and I ended up probably catching 20 on it. Wow. Up to 5.5, 6 pounds. But I mean, they do not miss it. It's a weird bite because sometimes you can tell they hit it on the fall. Sometimes it feels like a jig bite. But I think the key, here's what I found, Frank, you want to go with a smaller or a lighter wire hook in your bait to really promote that bait floating away from the free rig.
Yeah, agreed. And the other thing that I found is that the lightest weight I've been throwing on it has been a 3/8 because it separates faster, and creature baits separate even better because they pull more water. So the weight gets down in front of them farther. So for example, if you throw a 10-inch worm, it separates.
Yep.
But if you throw a full-size brush hog, it really separates. Appendages,
water resistance, things like that. So the Z-Man baits, like the Elaztec floating baits, they use a lot of there. But like a 10-inch worm, or I could even see it really working on like a 6-inch dinger.
Oh yeah, dude. So I experimented with a 5-inch dinger and a 1/8 ounce weight.
Yeah,
because I thought it would give me more of a Ned rig effect to it, but it didn't separate enough.
Yeah, you want that weight to be enough to slide up the line, and it's got that. What is that? Not a barrel swivel or an O-ring or something in that. It's
a crane swivel in the weight.
Yeah, crane swivel.
Basically. But yeah, and so I found that the streamline baits don't separate enough.
Kirk is onto something this spring.
Yeah, dude. I haven't even done it yet because when I got on it, it was in the middle of the summer.
Dude, can you imagine?
No.
Blind dragging a lizard in the spring across, flats, rubble where those fish are pre-spawn spawning?
No, dude. I couldn't imagine running it over a shell bed.
I think that might be the return of the lizard with the free rig.
Yeah, I think I always Carolina rig lizards, and I even flip lizards in the spring, and I don't understand. I know why guys got away from the lizard. It's just not sexy anymore with all the advent of all the new creature baits.
I think that'll make it sexy again.
Yeah, I think so. Do
we need a new Day 4 shirt that says "Make lizards sexy again"?
I think. I won't say what I was just going to say.
But no, it was awesome. I caught the majority of those fish. I mean, just donkeys.
Oh, man.
It's a very technical scope lake. There were, 9s and 10s caught not scoping. I caught 5 over 10. They were all on scope. I said in the first show, completely unapologetically.
Yeah, well,
most of them were 100 feet out, 20 feet down. And it was really interesting because the bigger fish, Frank, like smallmouth and things, when those fish see that bait falling and they're in 30 foot of water, there's a real interesting dynamic as far as, is that fish going to be scared of it? Is it going to come up and follow it? Is it just going to come up and kamikaze it? And I'd never seen this before. I had never found that many 10 plus pound or 8 plus pound fish before, but like if this is the fish down here and this is my bait falling, sometimes, they go like that and they come right up to it and then you start shaking, then boom, they eat it. But the bigger ones, they'll be down here in 30 foot. If my box is the screen, here's my bait falling down, here's the fish. They would go like this and my bait would be falling. And then you would see them come back up like this and attack the bait. You could see them literally seeing it, say they want it, reposition, come in from a different angle and just truck it.
I wonder if they were using the camouflage of the sun.
I don't know what they were doing, but I've never seen, you know, if you at first you'd be like, crap, I spooked it. But they would all circle, not all, I mean, probably 20% of them would come down, circle back around, and it was like they were positioning themselves to stalk it and eat it.
Get a better attack on it, maybe.
Dude, I hooked one. So that, I'll show it one more time. So picture this.
Now that one's almost 12, right?
That's 11. So almost 12. Like an 1170.
Wow.
And I hooked one on the first day, and it's on a spinning reel and rod. And I didn't know what it was at the time. I just knew it was the biggest mark I had ever seen in my life. And I reel into it, and it peels. It's like a redfish. It just goes zzz, zzz, and then it stops. And then it feels like you've got a catfish on. You know how the catfish will roll and bounce, or a drum will bounce your rod, and it goes zzz, and it stops, and then my rod tip just goes and it's like a pit bull just ragdolling, and it's that sucker down there shaking his head underwater.
Oh yeah, 100% it is.
And then the line just slowly starts rising. And I mean, all this is happening in 15 seconds. And this son of a gun comes out of the water and completely clears the water, straight up Bassmaster logo jumps. And it is the biggest, freakish, fattest. I mean, like there's 10 pounders with big heads and decent bodies, and then there's fish with freak show bodies and smaller heads. This fish had a freak show body and a freak show head. And it was somewhere between 12 and a half and 14. I know that sounds ridiculous, but after having caught an 11-11 and an 11-1.
No, it doesn't sound ridiculous.
It was substantially bigger. Substantially bigger than any of that. And when it came up, it came up under a piece of wood on the back side of it, and my leader touched the underside of the limb and broke.
Oh my
I couldn't do anything about it. Like, it was one of those things where I was just like, it was so wild. It was like, that was cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when it's over, you're like, did you see that?
Yeah. Yeah, so that kind of said it. But
yeah, 100%. Man alive. What an experience.
All right, let's get to some other stuff. We already given away one of the $50 gift cards to lurenet.com in celebration of Bass Talk Live winning the BOT Awards for the best podcast. And I wanted to make sure I got whoa, that's
you're losing your library, man.
Maybe it won't stay. But I wanted to make sure everybody got a chance at it, so I picked a random YouTube comment from the show 2 weeks ago, and then I also included all of the emails for show ideas, which we will use, and all of the iTunes recent iTunes reviews. Randomly picked them. So the YouTube comment that wins it, and if this is you and you're listening to this show, email matt@basszone.com. I have a code that I can email you back. The person who won it is Goodbye See You, all one word, GOODBYESEEYOU. Goodbye See You. And their comment was, damn straight BTL won. Glad to know the world hasn't totally lost it.
Amen.
And then the email and iTunes comments, the randomly selected one was Reddell Fishing off of iTunes, REDDELL FISHING. We'll have to review on that. So Reddell Fishing and Goodbye See You. If you're listening to this, email matt@basszone.com. I have a code for each of you, $50 at lurenet.com. So cannot thank the BTL listeners and viewers on all of the platforms, the new ones, the old ones, the recent converts, the guys who have been here since the beginning. Speaking of since the beginning, the fearless leader of...
Oh, God, here we go.
Do you not want to go here?
You go wherever you got to go, man.
this has absolutely nothing to do with fishing. But there are times where you got to stand up for a buddy, and we'll talk about what makes a good fishing buddy too. I don't really do Facebook. Everyone knows that. We're going to start doing it in the new year. But I got tagged by Pro Bass Adventures in some stuff, so I wanted to see what it was. And I open it up, and there's a comment from James Canteri, and Mark Jeffries is tagged in it, and so is the Sooner Bowling Center.
Okay.
And I'll just read it. Mark Jeffries, who, started BTL, Bass, head coach at SNU Bowling. We got a situation on our hands, Frank. This is right. James writing this on Mark Jeffries' behalf to the Sooner Bowling Center. He says, I will try to keep this as short as possible. Giving someone a permanent ban without explanation does not sit well with me at all. Mark Jeffries never stepped out of line or caused a scene. Instead, he chose to write his concerns out respectfully, and for that, he has now been banned. Mark is not 100% sure why he was banned, despite asking multiple times. He has even apologized for whatever he may have done, yet the ban remains, and he has received no clear explanation. I cannot support a business that makes decisions like this, especially when all Mark wants to do is bowl his last few seasons with his friends. Please share this. And as the Oklahoma bowling community, I stand with Mark. I, for one, will never step foot in that building again unless I am allowed to bowl with my friend. I have your back, Mark, and I hope the rest of our small community does too.
So he got banned from a bowling center over there.
Mark Jeffries just received a lifetime ban from the Sooner Bowling Center, which they have a Facebook page and they also have a Yelp account. So I did a little digging into research, and this is not right, Frank. Jeffries, that's all he's all about bowling. This stems back years ago to a dispute with a crooked lane oiler.
It's always the crooked lane oiler.
Who intentionally misoiled his lane in a key men's league match to give an advantage to the other team, which Jeffrey stood up for, notified the owner of the bowling center multiple times, resulted basically in that league moving out of the Sooner Bowling Center because Jeffries his lane was intentionally misoiled, and he called him out on it. Okay, so when he came back this year, he just wanted to start bowling. He received a letter in the mail. Saying, mail. Hey, you're banned and we don't want you back here, which is absolutely insane. The owner sent Mark a message when Mark said, hey, all I want to do is bowl with my friends here. I've never stepped out of line, nothing. I just wanted to right a wrong. I did it correctly the time before. She said, things are operating well on our end, which confirms that the decision made was appropriate. Therefore, the original decision will stand.
Ooh, that's adamant. They're going to be steadfast on that.
Okay, so Sooner Bowling Center, they got a Facebook page. They also have I'm not telling you what to do, but I will say that they have a Yelp, and I have left a review on their Yelp page. And for those who are standing with Mark in the fishing and bowling community, I would say, if you choose to do so, if you want to dig into that, maybe a Yelp review is in order. I'm just saying, like, if you went to a launch ramp and someone was there for a Wednesday nighter that you fished for 30 years or had fished before and had gotten into it with someone there, and there was someone there saying, you can't fish the Wednesday nighter, you're banned from this lake, you're banned from the launch ramp. Wouldn't that piss you off a little bit, Frank? And all you want to do is fish the Wednesday nighter with your friend, and someone on a power trip tells you can't because you called him out for something years ago that was wrong?
Yeah, it's kind of petty. It's kind of petty, actually. That was a fast response, man. That guy's got lightning for fingers.
Yes.
That was rapid. That was a rapid response.
Anyway,
Yeah, I think it's a shame. I mean,
all I said was power hungry owner that shows no respect to the patrons. 1 star.
all right. There you go.
Sooner Bowling Center. It's only got a 3.5. I feel like it's not that hard to have a 5-star review of a bowling center. Good lanes, give them shoes, decent pizza.
Yeah.
Little disco night.
Little beer.
$5 beer.
And it's a 5-star.
Now, keep it classy. Just, we're not saying, hey, but, let people know that Mark Jeffries is a fine, upstanding citizen who's dedicated his life to serving others, and all he wants to do is bowl. And he should be able to bowl at the Sooner Bowling Center in Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's local for him.
Let's get into some bass fishing stuff, Frank.
I want to thank you for that because I was drifting. I was drifting away.
The floor is yours.
All right. So recently, I actually was doing a locker room helping somebody with seasonal patterns, and then this idea came in my head. And then, ironically enough, we were having a marketing meeting at Pradco about lures. Okay, so basically, what makes a bait most effective, and when. All right. So that was the question to me was, if you have to talk about this bait, how are you gonna, show its effectiveness, when it's the most effective, et cetera, et cetera. And so I was in a meeting and just talking, and I said, well, to start, you have to start with a seasonal pattern. But I said, it's a little more complicated than that. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, seasonal patterns can be broken up into segments or parts, like a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then I said, but what you're going to encounter is you're going to encounter overlaps in the ends and the beginnings of each seasonal pattern. You're going to have an overlap there. And so I said, in order to understand what lures are going to be most effective when, you have to look at those overlaps. Now, in the summertime, the overlap is not so predicated on water temperature, but in the winter and the spring and the fall, water temperatures can get you into a certain part of that seasonal pattern. And so I was thinking about doing something on the show today, and I was thinking about doing something on the show today. So I made this graph, and basically in the graph, how I brought it is my arrow on winter?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Frank is working with a little double arrow over there today. We don't know why. When we share his screen, you got a double arrow, but I see no arrow now.
Yeah, I don't either.
And now I see an arrow on winter. So whatever arrow is on winter on your side, that's the one we're rolling with.
All right. So you've got winter, spring, summer, fall. Basically, this is the seasonal pattern. So I broke every season down into 3 sections: early, mid, and late. And so here's what happens. Okay. So like in late winter, you're going to have an overlap with early spring. So this section here will overlap with this section here. All right. So what it is where I live, unfortunately, we will have somewhere in this range right here. We will start.
So you have to say what range that is for our iTunes listeners.
Oh yeah.
Or else you're going to have guys going down the highway having an aneurysm.
All right. So somewhere between midwinter and late winter, we're going to have ice where I live. So late winter, the latest part of winter, the earliest part of spring could be ice out where I live.
Mm-hmm.
Down south, that could just mean your water temperatures go from 39 to 40 degrees, 39 to 42 degrees. So down south, it's going to be more predicated on water temperature. Up north, I can use the addition or removal of ice visibly to see where I'm at. So you'll have to do some due diligence with your water temperatures.
Well, tweaking.
So this came about. Now I'm going to take a little digression. This came about because I was explaining in the meeting suspending jerk baits, and when they're most effective where I live, and I was comparing small jerk baits, small deep diving jerk baits to very large jerk baits to large deep diving jerk baits. And so what happens here in late fall is when our jerkbait season really starts to get hot. The water temperatures will be somewhere around 45 degrees. It even can happen in the 48-degree range, but at that point, I'm still catching them equally on other baits. But this was predicated mostly on the jerkbait. So late fall, water temperatures in the mid 40s. We pop back up to early winter, and our water temperature is still in the 40s, dropping probably every week. It's dropping a couple degrees. We're getting into that 41 to 38 degree water temperature as early winter starts to wane into midwinter. And so this part of winter, the early part of winter, is almost the same as the very late part of fall.
Mm-hmm.
That's our overlap. But here's the weird thing. In winter, when we get into late winter and the ice starts to leave the lake, we're back to the 38 to 41 degree water temperatures. That jerkbait game goes off exactly the same way it did in the beginning of winter. And now it's happening at the end of winter, early spring. And so you have to pay attention to these zones in your seasonal breakdowns, because this is what's going to make you maximize your lure choices. So you have to pay attention to that. So I want to jump into spring for a second here. So spring is probably the one that I hear the most misguided information on. And I don't want to say it's most misguided. I just think everybody thinks spring is the pre-spawn. Pre-spawn, spawn, post-spawn. That's spring.
Yeah.
But in reality, that's the middle of spring.
The mid-spring.
That's mid-spring. All that goes down at the same time. Pre-spawn, spawn, post-spawn is mid-spring. So when you go into early spring and you hear guys go, and I do it too, man, I was catching them on 45-degree rocky banks throwing a red speed end or a red deep little end.
Those are pre-spawn fish.
Those are before pre-spawn.
We call them pre-spawn fish.
We call them pre-spawn. Those are actually the fish that are staging go into the spawning.
So they're
areas.
late winter fish.
Correct. They're late winter, early spring. What happens here, we freeze over. The bass towards late winter, before the ice melts, are already moving towards their spawning grounds. As the ice leaves the lake, the bass are already staged right in the beginnings of these spawning grounds, aka your 45-degree sloping banks at pocket mouths, secondary points, main points. They're already there when the ice melts. You guys that don't freeze, you have to stay with those fish and follow them to their spawning grounds. We can't follow them because we're frozen. Now, the winters that we don't freeze, I'm on them all winter long, following them to where they're going to go. So when we freeze and the lake starts to open up north, I go right to the beginnings of the spawning areas and start to look. Where you guys will go from the main lake roamers to the main lake points to the 45-degree rocky banks to the pockets to the creeks. And so that's you have that ability to chase them all winter. We don't. We lose that. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, let me ask you a question about this. Do you, and I know you've covered this, and we'll go back to this here in a second, but this is a question I've always had. And there's might be some studies that have tracked this, but in your mind, and this was an early day 4. We'll have to go back and see which one it was. But I remember you talking about travel highways that a lot of the fish use along that route. So if they're getting to that early spring, so they're not in the pre-spawn, they're also in late winter, early spring, those 40, you're going to have more fish that are congregating to those areas. Mm-hmm. Are those fish all following the same kind of path to get to those areas, or are they just kind of collecting there from all sorts of different angles? Or do you in your mind believe that there is kind of a highway where a lot of these fish get along and then kind of meander to it, where then they stage in that early? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
is it like a firework where they're coming from everywhere back to the genesis where they want, or do they all kind of follow the same, like a highway across the United States?
Okay. So
valid question.
Unbelievably good question. So here's the deal. Remember in a few episodes, a bunch of episodes back, we talked about the 3 populations of bass in a reservoir or a lake. You've got main lake residents. They live on the main lake forever and ever and ever. You've got creek residents. They live in the creeks. And then you've got your pelagic chasers that do nothing but chase pelagics.
Which could be in creeks or on the main lake.
Correct. So here's what happens. Your main lake residents and your creek residents use contour lines like we use roads and highways, ditches, drains. You guys know the drill. We've talked about these drains that go way out into the lake, and the bass are out there, and then they gradually move their way up into the creeks or the pockets to spawn. And the ones on the main lake will take a dead end drain that goes up into a big flat and spawn on the main lake. Those fish use topography, just like a deer does in the wilderness. They use topography. The main lake pelagic chasers, on the other hand, they're always running bait. So those are the fish that are apt to appear because they're floating most of their lives. The only time they don't float is during the spawn or when the bait fish run into a structural element that's the same depth as the bait fish, that tops out at the same depth as the bait fish. I was fishing a tournament on Kerr Reservoir. I probably said this on the show maybe a billion years ago, and my buddy Troy and I got on them on main lake points leading into the spawning areas. It was an early spring pre-spawn spawn tournament. They weren't spawning yet, but they were about to be there, and we had got them on main lake and secondary points and certain kinds of points only. They were more flatter rounded points, not steep and deep. They were flat and round. All practice, it was like clockwork. We could have went out on any practice day and immediately caught 20 pounds. It was like clockwork. I didn't see it back then. I'm talking decades ago. I was experiencing a lot of this for the first time in my life. I didn't understand a lot. I thought we were on the golden ticket. And literally the first day of the tournament, they were gone. I mean, like gone. And we couldn't even find a bass out there. And we kept going, we're just not on the right one. We're not on, we'll find more with them on it. And we ran these points all day long and never caught. Well, Troy caught one, and that was it. And then we come in and we find out guys are flipping them in the back of short pockets. In the wood in the back of short pockets. So we're like, holy shit, we got to make an about face. So we reconvene, we redo everything, and we go out and we start running pockets and flipping wood, and we're very lackluster. We're catching a few, they're all little, we're not doing any good, can't figure it out. Then after that event, I was so aggravated, I had to understand where I went wrong and what was going on. Now, remember, this is decades ago. I found out that the pockets that the guys were catching the big bags out had a definitive creek channel going into the back of the pocket. The drains were defined, super defined drains. The flatter, no nothing pockets are later in the spawning season, because then the bass hit the bank and they start spreading out and they get to those pockets without contours in them. Where the first pockets to get the fish are the ones with the defined drains in them. So that's when I realized that everything that I do from that point on, bass fishing, is going to be predicated on structure. It's going to be 100% topographical. And that's going to put me within the range of where I need to be.
Okay, so hear me out on this then. So what you just said makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to compare it to Bacharach, where I just was in Mexico. It is very deep. A lot of the water in it is 70 to 120 feet deep. And it was 77 degrees, 77, 75 to 80 degree water. But down there, that's considered kind of a pre-spawn time of the year, right? This is their colder weather months. So there were two main bites that were going on. And this makes a lot of sense now. So you could drop your trolling motor and scope and just start going over. And there's no topographical maps there whatsoever. But the guides know those lakes like the back of their hands. They've been doing it every single day. I mean, the guy we were with, Tonito, guides 270 days in a row.
Wow.
And then works tilapia out. He's out there 300 plus days a year. And he's 30 years old. But there were big, gigantic, and we're talking you're still over 80, 90 feet. Had the scope only set to 40. And you could go across open water main basin stuff and just go 4-pounder, 5-pounder. You catch a 6 or a 7 occasionally. But the guides, through their English would say, pointa, long pointa. And then they would point towards nothing, which by the end I'm realizing, okay, there's big points that are coming out half a mile, right? Into the lake. All the big main points would have the 8s, the 9s, the 10s. Now, this is over a half-mile area. Those fish were 20, 30 foot down over 100 foot of water, but they were still relating to those major main lake points. And one thing that they all had in common, there's a bunch of them on the lake, is they had prime spawning areas in the back of them, in the back of the coves, where they were flat. It was 20 feet deep. And all the pelagic fish in the open would be around balls of shad. They have threadfin shad out there by the billions like that. But when you got around those big point where they said those big, you could kind of see just big, giant, that's where the bigger fish would start showing up. The big pre-spawn females.
Yeah, because
they were relating exactly to that. Now, the second bite that was going on were big, massive flats that were like 18 to 20 foot deep. And you'd cast your stuff and you'd be working it back in and you'd see the fish shoot off the bottom and they were harder to get to bite and you'd see them go down. It didn't occur to me till after. And I was talking with Grady, who was down there fishing too. Those fish were on beds.
Oh, yeah, dude.
They were already spawning on those flats just because it's a 4 or 5 month spawn cycle down there and they were doing it. But what you just described, following those structural elements, you could go out in the middle and chase pelagics and catch a few. But the sweet spot was where the structural element of that long point came out, which met the pelagics that were chasing the freaking shad bait fish and had the big pre-spawn females that, even though they were 50 feet off the bottom, were relating to that long point that they were then going to go back. And then they had the spawners in the back in the flats.
Yeah, 100%. It's really wild. Like I have to be honest with you guys. Like I never, up until a couple weeks ago, I never thought about breaking down the seasonal pattern into segments. I always just assumed that everybody knew this.
No, but it makes sense. No trout in Bacharach. It's all tilapia.
Yeah, that's sweet, dude.
But no, what you just described is exactly what was happening there. And 90% of our fish over 8 pounds came off. It looks and feels, and you're out in the middle. You're in the middle of nowhere. But those fish are relating. You are in the biggest density. You would go, you'd pan forever and not see anything. And then you start seeing bait. You start seeing the smaller fish. And then you'd get to this long point.
Yeah.
And boom, you'd be like, oh, that's a 7-8 pounder.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, the more live scope has opened my eyes to a lot of fish behavior that I assumed.
Mhm. And if you don't
Um,
have it, this allows you to put yourself in the best position for success.
correct. So this is how I've always fished without live scope. Okay, what I'm explaining to you is how I fish without it. With forward facing, I learned a lot of this to be true.
Yeah.
Um,
It's one of the
and
few things that forward facing has confirmed about our beliefs.
correct. So here, for example, so let's talk lures for a minute. So you see the chart, you put the chart back. So you see the chart, right? So everywhere you see the orange or red dots is the overlap. Anywhere you see the green and the yellow mixed in the middle is the middle of that
Yeah. So
seasonal
midwinter,
pattern,
mid spring, midsummer, mid
mid-fall.
fall, no overlap. That's a pretty
Right?
isolated standard patterns for
Correct.
those.
So the best way to figure this out is that when you look at early early seasonal pattern, late seasonal pattern, where I have the overlap of the orange and the yellow.
Yep.
Okay. Those are what most people will call transitional. Those are transitional periods. And in a sense, they are because you have overlap. Fish are moving, you have the overlap. But I did this for our team at Pradco to pick out the best lures for the in the best possible scenario for each bait. Okay. So my original deal was the jerk bait, but it works with the crankbaits, it works with the football jigs, with flip in, et cetera, because you could go like for cranking. Everybody knows that midsummer crankbait fishing, you are truly offshore. You are cranking offshore, non-bank related items offshore. But offshore doesn't always mean you're in the middle of the lake fishing an unconnected piece of structure. So in early summer, the fish are transitioning from late spring. So you got the post spawn, late spring, fish are starting to move out. Well, we know that in early summer, you want to be fishing structure that is somehow connected to the mainland. As we get to midsummer, those fish will break away from that. Not all of them, but a lot of them will break away from that and go to unconnected structure. As summer progresses, we go from midsummer towards late summer. They're going back to main lake connected stuff. And that's where you get the overlap from late summer to early fall. Now you could catch them cranking flats. You could catch them cranking secondary points. You could even catch fish offshore at this period of time. But as fall progresses, your opportunities for truly offshore structure fishing start to wane because the bass are now migrating with the bait fish to the pockets, to the creeks, et cetera, et cetera. So understanding this chart is going to help you understand lure choices way better. It does a lot. So I want to do this really in-depth jerkbait show, but I'm going to probably touch on it right now. Because I just did a small video on the Flashpoint Junior. And so this junior deep and the junior shallow. And so I want to relate something here. So in the wintertime, I'm heavy on the jerkbait. Real heavy on the jerkbait in the winter. So we talked about this in a previous show about going, jerk baits, A rigs, blah, blah, blah. And so here's the thing. In the late fall, in that late fall period, early winter period, a common mistake I see is people are throwing giant size baits. That doesn't mean you're not going to catch bass. You'll absolutely catch bass throwing the big stuff. But bass are targeting young of the year shad at that point in time. And they're all about, 2.5, 3 inches long. So your smaller jerk baits have a tendency to do better because of the size of the jerk bait. So I throw the deep and the shallow. So in our meeting, they said, well, when do you go from the deep to the shallow or vice versa? And I said, well, the obvious time is if you're fishing shallower water, you throw the shallow one. If you're fishing deeper water, you throw the deep one, but that's dumbing it way down. So here's the reality, and this is what live scope taught me. Okay, your bass, and actually the crappie fishing taught me it first, and ice fishing taught me it before that, because we used to play a game ice fishing with crappie. Me and Frankie used to see how high we could get the fish to the bottom of the ice before they bailed. So we would lift, we would be 2D sonar in the ice hole, and the crappie would come in, and we'd lift the bait up, and the crappie would follow the bait up and keep following the bait up, and we would see how high we could get them.
On the Vexlar, right under the ice, you just see the little red thing just go up the circle.
100% until they would peel away and not commit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is the same thing with suspending jerkbait fishing. So let's say I've got fish that are in 12 to 15 feet deep in the early winter, and I can throw a shallow running suspending jerkbait because it'll get down to about 8 or 9 feet on 8-pound fluorocarbon. Okay. But here's the thing. What commitment is that fish going to make before he takes that lure?
Mm-hmm.
So my bait might be running 8 feet deep, but if that fish isn't willing to move 3 feet to get it, that's when I got to go to the deeper suspending jerkbait, because he's not moving far enough.
Window is.
Yes, they're not moving far enough. Now, conversely, let's say I got fish suspending in 18 feet, and I know that on 8-pound fluorocarbon, I can get my flash point deep down to 9-10 feet, right? If I can get it down to 9-10 feet and those fish in 18 feet of water are willing to make that climb to get that bait, then I'm going to catch them. But if they won't come up to get that bait, then I got to go to the A rig, or I got to, weight the bait to get it to sink.
Which is why the minnow is so effective, because you can fish it from 2 foot down to 30 foot down. You can keep it 5 feet above the fish. You can put it to the fish. You can literally fish the jig head minnow in any range.
100%. 100%. But for those without scope,
yes,
you got to
using
go
the
to
jerkbait, the deep, the line, the bill,
everything, and you weight it to make it slowly sink. You can get it down deeper. You count them down. Your A rig, same thing with the A rig. I count my A rigs down all the time, because I know that once I get bid on a count, then I got to keep that count.
So like make a cast and do a count. Show an example. So cast.
Okay, so I'll fire a cast out. It hits the water. And in my head, I'm like 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6. And then I start doing my retrieve.
Okay.
If I bump the bottom or I bump the grass, then I got to know I have to retrieve it a little bit quicker or lighten the weights up on it, because I don't want to make bottom contact. Grass fishing, the A rig is the easiest, because when you're ticking the top of the grass, you're in the right zone. And so you tick the top of the grass till you come down the slope where you're not ticking the grass anymore, and boom, that's where most of your bites come. Right when the grass ends and your A rig is free, that's when most of the bite comes. Structure fishing is completely different. You have to have a certain range over the bottom or above the fish, and that's where that's critical. So that's when I'm adjusting my weights, my head weights all the time. Even bumping up line size if I have to. If I can't get it to sink slow enough, I'm bumping line size up. Maybe I'm going from 17 to 20. You know what I mean? Because it's all about that. How far is that bass willing to commit in cold water?
This is good stuff. Okay. Do you want to hear my next theory that I would love to get your opinion on, that I literally had like an epiphany, wrote a note about it, and said, I want to talk about this on day 4 and get your opinion on it.
Yeah, fire.
So last year we did a chartreuse show, and your belief, what you said, which I think a lot of people thought had not thought of, is at a certain depth of water penetration and sunlight, chartreuse turns white.
Bright white
Underwater. You just stated that in the late fall, early winter, times like that, the bait fish are often very small.
Mm-hmm.
I notice in this lake and numerous lakes that tipping my bait with chartreuse, it's a noticeable difference in bites than not tipping at certain times of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed it's more so late fall, early winter, whether it's a swim bait, whether it's a shaky head, whether it's a minnow. We'll just use the minnow, for example, because that's what I just was at Baccarat. That's what it's been the last few months out here. This is my belief. I mean, it was drastic to where you would have a fish that would follow it and not eat a 7-inch bait. You'd tip the tail chartreuse and your conversion rate would triple. That those fish are keying on that chartreuse tail that to them is sitting down there, going like this as you shake it or as you move it, which to them looks like a little bitty shad because it turns white, because it turns that light color. And they're not targeting the giant bait. They're targeting the tail of that bait, thinking it's one of those smaller shad, but it's much easier to get a heavier, bigger bait down that you then turn into a little bait by tipping the back quarter of it. And that's why the chartreuse dye on the minnow and that is more effective around fish that are targeting small thread fins.
Yeah, 100%. That's why on a lot of my baits, I paint a very distinct gut bag on them, because that's what the bass are seeing. They see the pearl flashes and the solid pearl white belly on them. And so that's exactly right. Now, if you took your minnow and did you try to put a streak of chartreuse just on the chin of the bait?
I didn't. Belly? I just tipped the tails.
So that acts. What that does is when that bass sees that's the bright white gut bag kind of thing. They come up and they're immediately targeting the hook range of your bait.
Yeah. Because they think it's that small bait. They're not targeting the whole thing. They're keying in on that.
They're immediately going right for where your hook is.
Now, when they're on big gizzard shad, when they're on bigger baits, bluegills, things like that, I find that the chartreuse is not as important as it is in colder water, slower moving baits when they're keyed on smaller moving targets.
100%, dude. When they're on big baits, you just want something with a white belly.
Yeah. Because they're eating something that big. That's what they're targeting. Yeah. But I mean, I'm throwing a 7-inch minnow on fish that are eating shad that are this big, and I'm getting an incredibly good return on it, even though it does not match the hatch or anything, when I'm tipping it with the chartreuse, which shows up as white 20 feet down, which means they're going, that's a thread fin. That's just in my head how that worked. I thought I'd ask that question too.
No, I agree totally. 100% I agree on that. It's wild because bass see contrast better than anything.
Yeah.
And so when you tip a bait with chartreuse, or you got a chartreuse belly on a bait or a bright white belly on a bait, there's a lot of contrast there. Yeah, there's a lot of contrast there. It's really kind of unique. It's fascinating. And like I said, Live Scope has proven so much of this to be true.
Yeah, that explains why that LG bone color is so effective in that, because you have the translucent on the side with the herringbone that gives it a little bit of profile, but you've got that chartreuse belly. You're typically having fish that are looking up that are eating it, so they're seeing a small white chartreuse that matches everything, even though it looks very gaudy to us above the water. It's insanely natural to them.
Right, it's ridiculous. And because it's semi-translucent and it has that oil pattern on it, it's got a lot of pearls to it, and that's really what the bass, they're seeing the bright white belly, and they're seeing the pearls flashing. As the bait pitches and rolls, they'll get a flash of dark from the back, which looks incredibly natural. because most of your smaller bait fish are semi-translucent anyway.
Yeah. Dude, that's badass stuff. We are going to hit show number 250 next year. Do you have this in a hard copy, Frank? Like, do you have this like just drawn out on a piece of paper?
Yeah, right here.
I think we should frame that, you sign it, and we give it away to someone for show 250.
Okay.
I mean, that's a cool ass diagram right there, Frank.
It says a lot without getting too busy and complicated.
Yeah. This is probably one of the deeper dives we've done in the 226 shows.
I was thinking about it, and I just thought we needed something.
Yeah, no, it's badass. Couple questions. Jim Lopez asks, I'm a rattle trap type of guy. Have you painted specific colors for cold water in the vibrating lipless crankbaits?
There's some good cold water colors. You want to look at the Booyah rattle bait in the oil patterns, and I drew a blank on what we actually call them. That's crazy.
In like the hard knocker, the one knocker.
Yeah, hard knockers, one knockers.
Okay.
Let me show you some of those because there's a lot of cross representation in them. Can you pull them up?
Yeah, I'm looking for those.
Well, we could actually, we could actually go through those colors if you wanted to. But I want the
graffiti.
Yeah, the graffiti effects. But let's go through this. Okay, so everybody knows that the red one, the red color,
Yep.
is going to be good in the early spring, late winter when your water temperatures are, between 42 and 45 degrees, 50 degrees. The reds play very important. Very important. As the water temperature starts to warm and you get into above that 50-degree mark, that mid 50s, you want to start to gravitate towards bluegills and shad imitators. I'm going to tell you, go to the purple one that you passed. Yeah, that's a fantastic color. That's royal shad. That has a chartreuse. A kind of a pearly chartreuse, just white belly, pearl white side, and then it gravitates into the purple, into the back. I've caught so many fish on that. It's ludicrous, and I don't understand why other than the contrast. It's just, for whatever the reason, that bait right there, I put a lot of fish in the boat on that bait. Of course, on rattle baits, you cannot ignore your chrome colors, chrome blue, chrome black. You can't ignore that. Just because that chrome has a tendency on certain days just to outperform.
What about chrome pumpkin seed?
But it has a tendency to outperform. I have a tendency also to stay with, I have my blue chrome, my black chrome, gold chrome, which they might call golden shiner. Now that's a good color, but I gotta come clean. I don't fish that color a lot.
The chrome sexy shad.
Yeah, the chrome sexy shad. Although I'm probably a fool for not, but I don't. And then when I go to my minnow imitators, I want more stuff like bones and grays when I'm doing my minnow imitators.
Okay. There you go. Cam asks, is red only a largemouth thing up north on natural lakes here? Smallmouth don't care for red?
Oh, God, no. I catch so many smallmouths on red, it's sickening. I've won a lot of tournaments throwing red deep little ends on smallmouth. Inland smallmouth are very different than the Great Lakes smallmouth. Inland smallmouth, you will see in the spring that they'll actually be shallower than the largemouth, which is unique, and they will. That's where Loaded to the Court came from, man. Yeah. Crank and smallmouth, when they hit it, it is just brutal, and it is just, God, is it fun? Oh my gosh.
Quick question that is an entire show in itself, but you can just touch on it. Pete Cook, what I'd like to know is what dictates whether you start up lake or down lake during the winter. Being dirtier water up north, that seems to stump me.
Okay. So the fastest thing I can tell you is that as you approach the midsection of the lake towards the dam, that's the most stable water condition.
And you can also look at the deep dive app on the lake that you're on if it has it, and determine where the water color is.
100%. Ooh, God.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, so you're 100% correct. So the reality of it is that if I'm looking and the watercolor is trash up the river, then I want to go to where the water starts to clean up. And that's where I would start, right where you have that transition from dirty water to where it starts to get cleaner. That'll tell you a lot. The worst conditions in, I'm trying to get this light to be right because I'm digressing here. I blocked out my windows with paper.
Yeah.
The paper has an orange hue to it.
Yeah. Did you just do that new?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought you have an interesting tint going on.
Yeah, I don't want the dang tint.
In my studio, actually, little known, there's actually a window behind this here, and I have straight up foiled it. So I'm sure my neighbor thinks, "Well, I wonder what that guy's doing."
Yeah.
That's how I keep the light out.
Because I have
foil.
Yeah, because the paper's not faded yet.
Yeah.
It's got an orange hue to it.
I thought, I mean, you look fine, but just there's a tad tinge, a little hint of orange red there, especially with the red walls behind you.
So where the heck was I?
You were talking about where to start on the lake.
Oh, yeah.
And he was struggling with the dirtier water up north.
Right. So one of the worst things that I can't stand in any of the cold water periods is cold, dirty water. In the coldest of water that we could fish before we could start walking on it, I want the cleanest water I could find. The bass have a tendency that it's more stable. They have a tendency to have a bigger strike window. In the dirty water, they're not moving around. You got to put it right on top of them. There's a lot of aggravation that comes with cold, dirty water. And I don't mean cold or dirty water like in the early summer when you have a cold rain and the water gets muddy. Those fish go ballistic. I'm talking about, winter time to early spring fishing. I try to avoid dirty water if I can. Now, if your lake is never clean, that's a different story because they live in it year round and it's normal to them. But in lakes that are relatively, 2 to 3 foot visibility, when you get a wall of mud, you stay out of it. Stay in front of it.
Who said that? Was it Larry Nixon? You can catch them in cold water. You can catch them in muddy water, but it's real hard to catch them in cold, muddy
water. 100%. And I will attest to that on a million different occasions.
I fished a couple derbies where it was incoming frigid. It had been, the air temperature wasn't, but then you had a cold rain on a mud lake, and it just kills it.
Oh, dude, like night and day. It's unbelievable. But yeah, the colder the water, the less dirty I want it. I want it as clean as possible. And understand too that usually, like in the spring, you're up the river and stuff will warm first. But if you have an unusually wet spring and the water's always dirty, you got to get to that midsection of the lake where it's pretty not super clean like at the dam, but fairly clean. And if your fish are spawning, let's say your fish are spawning up the river, they'll be pre-spawn, mid-lake and pre-spawn by the dam. The dam will go off last, but there'll be creeks by the dam that could spawn first. So it just depends how big those creeks are, how far back they go.
And Pete says, but the resident fish still have to eat up north. Right, but you might go from what we just talked about, a bite window of 5 feet to a bite window of 3 inches.
Right.
Which is why you
100%.
see, when you see that, you typically see the black and blue rattle jig, something that you're putting next to something where a fish, because of barometric pressure, because of lack of visibility, is sitting next to something to feel more safe and secure. You're putting something literally right in its face, which obviously you're going to then come in contact with a lot less active biting fish over that.
Right. So if I had to fish in those conditions, I would definitely be flipping a jig. I'd be throwing a black and blue chatterbait. I'd be throwing something that I could bang cover with, work it super slow, get it in their strike window so they have the opportunity to react to it.
And doesn't that also depend on what those fish are used to? I mean,
Yes.
if it's always muddy up there, you can get away more with cold and muddy. But if it's typically stained or clear, and then all of a sudden it gets muddy, that's where it really shuts them off.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. If it's always off color and dirty, it doesn't matter. They live in it. It's like some of the lakes that I fish with you down by you.
Yeah, you want it off. They get freaked out when it's clear.
Yeah, because they live in the dirty water all the time. It doesn't bother them. Their other senses become more acute. They feed a lot with their lateral line, with sound, with smell, stuff like that.
All right. That was a lot to unpack there. I think that's one you want to listen to 2 or 3 times, particularly the second half after we took care of the business at hand in the first half. No show next week. It's Christmas Day.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Yes. I would like to ask you, what is the last Christmas gift that you asked for and received and were excited to get? Like where you were like, oh man, I hope I get this for Christmas.
Oh, you guys are going to think I'm a Scrooge, but I always say this. I don't want anything for Christmas. I just
take it back to the childhood, Frank.
I just want everyone to be
happy. It back to childhood, Frank.
Oh my God.
There's got to be one. For me, it was a St. Louis Blues starter jacket and the Lion King cassette soundtrack.
Outstanding.
Those are the last 2 that I remember that I was like really jazzed to get. I was probably 25, 26.
Maybe. I don't honestly, I can't recall. I mean, I got disco pants. Yeah, I got my parachute pants.
There was nothing that you were just like, Pops, Bob, I need this. Like this is on the Christmas wish list, and you were just waiting for it.
No, I can't recall. I don't want gifts. I would rather see other people happy and give a gift rather than get a gift.
What's the best gift you've ever given for Christmas? Kids, family, friends, anything. Like one gift that you've given that you were like, nailed it.
Well, for Josh and Frankie, it was always fishing stuff. My daughter Rose was a little tough because I just don't have a clue. And then drunk, but I just want socks. You need socks, yeah, bud. I don't know. I don't know. This is really hard for me because I'm not.
You never had like one gift where you were like, all right, I'm break down and get him this.
Well, I got my son Josh a car a couple Christmases ago. So
that's nice.
Yeah. So well, too bad. So sad.
BMW.
No.
Tell you what, that Bradco money, buying cars for all the kids.
Yeah. Exactly.
David's saying our Christmas gift would be for you guys to be in Knoxville for the Classic. You're gonna get your Christmas wish.
You are gonna get your Christmas wish. I just made my reservations yesterday.
We will be there. Are you a Christmas party guy? Like, did you ever have a job where it was like the annual Christmas party where you head out there and have a few cold pops and mingle with the coworkers?
We have, yeah, I have. I have. I'm very subdued at any parties that pertain to work. Our family Christmases when my grandparents were alive and my dad was alive, um, they were out of control. They were absolutely. We'd have, mussels and snails flown in, and
Whoa.
we did all the fish.
Escargot at the holiday party?
Oh yeah, salmon, everything, because it was like the seven fishes. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, it was crazy, man. And I remember I got a funny story for you. So I was a little kid, and and I say little kid, I was probably 7 or 8 years old, maybe a year older. I don't know exactly. Um, so all the women would go at my grandfather's house. He had a full size restaurant kitchen in his basement.
Like we're talking traditional Italian family here. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. He had they had a full restaurant kitchen in their basement. Of course, they had a kitchen upstairs too. So so some of the women. Okay, now this is going way back, guys. Okay, they weren't allowed to wear makeup. They could, God forbid, they smoked a cigarette back in the day. None of that. And so they would get all these lobsters flown in and live snails, oysters, everything. So it comes to my grandfather's house. I'm schlepping it down the steps into the basement. Basically, I'm this workhorse.
You're the snail mule.
I'm the snail mule doing all the stuff. All the ladies are in the kitchen doing all their thing. All you smell is food of all kinds throughout the whole house. And we're in this back room. It's sectioned off. We're in this back room in the basement. And I'm with all these old Italian guys that most of them are not alive. Well, they're all not alive today. And we're getting these oysters in, and they're shucking the oysters, and they're just eating them. Shucking them and eating them. So I'm like 7 years old, shucking oysters and eating them with all these old Italian dudes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Most of them didn't speak English, but I was eating them with them. Anyway, they all go upstairs. All the ladies are downstairs cooking. My aunt is smoking a cigarette, and I'm downstairs with them. Basically, I'm playing with the snails and the lobsters and stuff. And and my grandfather starts to come down the steps, and she just takes her cigarette and puts it in her apron because he came down. She just literally drops it in the pocket of her apron, and he's standing there talking, and her apron goes in flames. It's like in flames.
Spontaneously combusts.
Listen to this. She doesn't budge. She doesn't move a muscle, and I'm standing there with my eyes like, she's on fire. You know what I mean? She doesn't move. She doesn't do anything. My grandfather's just sitting there, and he's done, and he turns around like nobody's making mention of this 2-foot flame coming out of her pocket. So my grandfather turns around to walk upstairs, and he goes, "Hey, Angie, you might want to put that out." And he walks upstairs just like that, right? So in all the commotion, they have this huge colander, and they had dumped all the snails in the colander of boiling water. And in all the commotion, they never lidded it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, dude, she goes to get her fire put out, get a new apron on. Everybody's helping her. There's stuff cooking in the kitchen. And I hear, Frankie, you got to come back. You got to come back. I come running down the stairs, and all the snails crawled out of the pot. They were all over the walls.
They were like, this is hot as hell.
Yeah, they were all over the walls. They were crawling everywhere, dude. I'm on a ladder picking them off the wall. It was the funniest thing I ever experienced during the holidays. It was
oh my gosh,
crazy.
That is legendary.
Yeah.
Favorite Christmas song?
Drummer Boy by Al Seeger.
Ooh, that's good. Favorite Christmas movie?
Oh man, everybody says Die Hard's not a Christmas movie, but it's kind of not my favorite. I don't know, man. I like a lot of them, dude.
Uh,
I'm a sentimental sap.
that's fair. Are you a colored Christmas lights or white Christmas lights type of guy?
White.
Are you a icicle Christmas lights guy or straight line across the rim of the house?
Nothing. We have garland.
Garland.
Yeah.
Live Christmas tree or fake Christmas tree?
Live.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. You've got some good Christmas stories.
Yeah. I forgot about that one. Thanks for bringing up my criminal past. Oh gosh,
Frank went into a little bit more depth after the show with me on that, and God, it's even better than what he told.
Yeah, I can't. No.
No. I mean, statute of limitations is past, but
it's way past. It's way past.
Basically, it would be like going and getting sod from Augusta. Is basically what you did. Like you had a bare patch in your yard, you just went and wheelbarrowed some sod out of Augusta.
Yeah. It's like, hey, your lawn looks like a putting green. How ironic is that?
Oh, all right. Well, Drunkwood starting early said he just cracked a beer. Let the holidays commence. Frank, can't thank you enough
dude,
for
fabulous.
another crazy good year. We're not going to have a show on the 20 on the
Christmas
Christmas the next week, and then it's January 1st. New Year's, just the way that it works on a Thursday. So we're 2 weeks that we won't have a show.
So that brings me to the Signature Series release.
Yes.
Will be on the 8th of January.
Are you going to be around like the 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th?
I will be around.
Let's slide in a show there so we can do that.
Well, but here, the release, I think, is January. I got to look at this because if I get this wrong, January 8th will be the release of the next Signature Series.
Okay. Well, we'll be live January 8th.
Yes, we will be.
We've got badass viewers, Frank.
They're the best, man.
Yeah.
They're the best. You guys are the best. It's
cool to see everybody. I mean, like it takes a long time to kind of build a community and see all the familiar names and faces, and then new ones that pop in and old ones that come back. And we understand you guys have work schedules and people who listen to the replays, people who listen to iTunes, but as a whole, you know, I think it's the interaction with everybody and all the listeners and all of you guys that really make this show what it is. And you, Frank, obviously. I mean, well, it's your show, so
it's our show, Matthew.
Yeah.
It's not mine, it's ours.
And we're working on more. Like, you know, we had a lot of BTL listeners. We had a handful that were down there at Bacharach, and, you know, I was a little nervous. You know, you get all these strangers together, you don't know how they're going to fit in and stuff. Right. And like on day 2, when one guy who had never met another guy just like hit him with a savage rip and everybody laughed, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be good. And,
because at that point in time, everybody's got a commonality.
Yeah. And that's the one thing. That's the one thing that we all have here is a love of fishing, and we've met a lot of people at the Classic, and you meet a lot of people at boat ramps and a lot of people in the opens and during my travels. So badass, Frank. Let's do it again next year. Let's do another 50 shows next year.
Yeah, I have to work on the hues in this room. I got to figure something out.
You got a foil. Can you not make like a little frame, foil it, and then just put it up in the window, because the foil then reflects the light, so then it's pure natural light.
Hey, Matt, this room is 15 feet long, and it's a whole entire window.
Oh, yeah, it is. What was wrong with it before? It looked good before.
I was getting blown out when the sun would come. Yeah. I didn't have all the windows taped. And so when the sun would shine, it would blow me out. And so I said, well, I have the paper. Let me just repaper it. Well, I did, but I took all the light from coming in, but the sun shines through the paper and it's new, so it's orangey. The old paper faded and it was like brown.
I got you.
Imagine a BTL holiday party. No, I can't imagine that. I'm afraid of it. I am definitely afraid of it.
I will. I'm headed to California tonight.
Yeah, dude, that's right. That's your first Christmas as a married couple.
It is. Headed to California tonight, and then on the 23rd, we're flying back here, and then driving up to be in Illinois on the 24th. It's my dad's 80th birthday.
Oh, good for him. Boy, he doesn't look 80, man.
No, he
does not.
He's still, I was nervous before, and I was like, I'm going to hire someone to do your driveways and all that. And he's like, no, I want to snow blow the driveways, but I have talked him into at least taking his cell phone out now and checking it, because I was like, hey, we're to the age where we got go out, snow blow, have a good time, salt the driveway, do all that, but we got to keep some eyes on you now.
Yeah, exactly.
He was at least, I was thankful enough the last time we had a big giant ceiling fan in the kitchen, and he's like, hey man, can you climb up on the ladder and change this light? And I said, absolutely. I said, I've been begging you for 20 years to wait till I come home 3 times a year to change out all the lights.
Exactly.
I know how I am at 40. I'm up there like,
oh yeah, dude. I don't like heights, man.
No,
I don't do good with heights
yeah. At the risk of him listening to this, I don't care. He listens to some of these, I know, but we're gonna give him a Green Bay perch trip for his 80th birthday this summer.
Oh, dude, man, you like them perch, man.
Obsessed with them.
Yeah, I got a plan. I think I might have a plan in our near future.
We also have a plan in January. You're coming down here, and we are going to.
So our goal is a 4-pound crappie.
Our goal is a 3-pound crappie. 4-pound crappie is, dude, a 4-pound crappie is like saying, our goal is a 15-pound largemouth. Our goal is a 3-pound crappie.
3-pound crappie and
an 8-pound largemouth.
Okay.
For that trip. I feel like those are very doable, reasonable goals for what we're doing.
That's good.
In a perfect world, 3.5-pound crappie, 10-pound largemouth. But that's pushing it a little bit. Everything has to go right.
Everything's got to be perfect.
Yeah.
But it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it because we're frozen. I mean, yesterday was 40 and today's 53. And we're going to get a half an inch of rain tonight. And then of course, Friday night, it's going to go back to snow and ice.
Yep. All right, let's hit the music one last time. There it is. Back to the old school stuff. This has been another edition of Day 4 with the man Frank Scalish. We will see you in 2026.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. See everyone. Thanks, guys.